This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Alliance Defending Freedom stands in courtrooms across the country to defend the freedoms our nation has cherished for 250 years. Life, free speech, religious freedom, parental rights. These freedoms aren't inherited, they belong to those who fight for them. ADF is approaching a critical fiscal year-end fundraising deadline. Your support helps ADF protect and defend these freedoms so they may endure for years to come. Every dollar you give will be doubled while matching funds last. Visit joinadf.com/RPA or text RPA to 83848 to give today. Sponsored by Alliance Defending Freedom.
I need to be healthy every day to survive it and go through the next chemo round and the next chemo round. So it's important that work was part of that, to keep my mind busy for 8-9 hours. And then I had to go back and face the reality. I had a goal, and the goal is to survive.
Research shows there is a significant connection between the ability to continue to work and cancer recovery. We can make work a better place for healing.
Learn more and sign the pledge at workingwithcancerpledge.com.
The Joel Osteen Daily Podcast.
God's plans for you are for good.
Be inspired.
Get ready. God is about to exceed your expectations.
Joel Osteen Daily Podcast.
You are coming out of that dry place into more than enough.
Daily encouragement right when you need it.
There are opportunities in your future bigger than you can imagine.
Listen to the Joel Osteen Daily Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
This is Red Pilled America. To celebrate America's 250th birthday, RPA is giving its biggest discount ever. For a limited time, get 50% off a Backstage subscription, where you get ad-free access to our entire back catalog of episodes. Just go to redpilledamerica.com and click the link on the homepage. Then enter America250 at checkout. That's America and the numbers 250, all one word, at checkout. Support what you love or it goes away. Happy birthday, America. This episode was originally broadcast on August 4th, 2023. Woodland Park is about a 30-minute drive northwest of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Nestled in the Rocky Mountains, it's home to about 8,000 people. It's a small town in every sense of the word.
There's just deer everywhere. It's safe. There's just no crime. It's quiet. Everywhere you go, you're running into people you know and everything. It's fantastic.
It's one of those small towns that the national media typically ignores. So when NBC News came to Woodland Park, some began to raise an eyebrow.
Woodland Park, Colorado, a tight-knit conservative mountain community, has grown so divided, high school junior Jacob D. Smith says he no longer recognizes his hometown.
Why are the national media descending on this small town? I'm Patrick Corelchi.
And I'm Adriana Cortez.
And this is Red Pilled America, a storytelling show.
This is not another talk show covering the day's news. We're all about telling stories.
Stories Hollywood doesn't want you to hear.
Stories the media mocks. Stories about everyday Americans that the globalists ignore.
You can think of Red Pilled America as audio documentaries, and we promise only one thing: the truth. Welcome to Red Pilled America.
People often ask us, in one form or another, what can I do to help fix America? It's probably the most common question we get since launching Red Pilled America. In response, we've often encouraged people to get involved in storytelling. Filmmaking, novels, music, art, and storytelling podcasts like ours are the things that drive and establish American culture. And it's the kind of thing that a single individual can do on their own. And if that isn't your cup of tea, as we've often said, you can support like-minded folk who are on the storytelling front lines. But that advice doesn't work for many adults who want to get hands-on in fixing America but may not find the arts to be in their wheelhouse. For those people, which route should they take? What can folks do to help save America? To find the answer, we're going to tell the story of a few people that became sick and tired of watching the destruction of perhaps the most important institution in America, and they decided to do something about it. If Americans all across the nation followed their lead, this country would be on the road to recovery in no time.
Dave Illingworth is a Texas transplant to Woodland Park, Colorado.
I moved here 5 years ago.
That's Dave.
This town, Patrick, if you come visit it, you're probably going to move here. I mean, it's so beautiful. I mean, Woodland Park is really, I shouldn't tell anybody. It's a truly hidden gem.
But Dave learned that this small town was lacking in one crucial area.
Most people do move to small towns for two things. It's the schools and the safety. But nobody I met ever moved here for the schools.
And like with most good parents, education was important to Dave and his wife, Katie. They're both veterans and lawyers. So by default, academics is something they value. Woodland Park was a bit challenged in that department, but Dave and Katie made the best of it. They enrolled their school-aged kids in a local school. But like so many other parents all across the country, an unexpected crisis hit Woodland Park in early 2020 that would eventually expose a serious problem.
Colorado goes on lockdown in 9 hours' time. Governor Jared Polis has ordered all Coloradans to stay home starting at 6 a.m. tomorrow to slow the spread of COVID-19.
Governor Jared Polis didn't mince words. Stay at home or thousands of people could die.
When we're talking about saving lives, we're not talking about one or two lives. We're talking about thousands of Coloradans' lives, perhaps tens of thousands.
The governor says that when this all goes into effect tomorrow morning, the only reasons that you should be outside of your house is if you work for a critical business or conducting essential activities. He says that we're at a point where this is necessary.
And of course, included in that long list of non-essential activities was the education of our children.
The schools up here, they shut down in spring of 2020 like everywhere else.
2 weeks turned to 4, then 10. By the time the 2020-2021 school year came around, they remained closed. So school district after school district began an entirely new experiment.
The remote learning stuff was extremely frustrating.
Dave and Katie have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls. Their school-age children all shifted to remote learning, where they had to log into their classroom from their homes through a computer.
And what became a great concern to us was that the Woodland Park School District, which they were all on this screen-based learning program called Summit Learning. And it goes by different names in different places and things like that. But it's essentially a curriculum that emphasizes using your Chromebooks and getting lessons from YouTube and things like that. It just was all but impossible for my oldest one. And so my wife is like, hey, I think we're going to need to move because all the schools up here do this. And we could go, 20 minutes down the mountain to the Springs, and there's tons and tons of choices there.
Those choices being charter schools. Colorado has one of the highest concentrations of public charter schools in America.
I got to be honest with you, Patrick. I did not know what a charter school was at the time, right? You hear about them. And my kids were young enough that I was new to the whole schooling experience, really. I mean, my oldest was like in 2nd or 3rd grade at that time.
So Dave and Katie did some research, and in the process, they learned about a promising new project in Woodland Park.
We become aware through the paper that there's a group of parents up here that are trying to start a charter school called Merit Academy. And it's going to be a classical-based curriculum. And they're going to emphasize, textbooks and writing cursive and things like that. And so we thought that was a really great idea and something that we were going to be interested in for our oldest.
Now, charter schools in their neck of the woods need to apply for authorization from the school district.
My wife is a lawyer too. She's known over at the elementary school where the kids are going. So the elementary school principal invites my wife to be part of reviewing this charter application. There's a committee, it's called the District Accountability Committee. And it's made up of parents and teachers, administrators. You got like a business owner, right? It's supposed to be this cross-section of the community. It's actually in Colorado state law. You got to have this. And the law requires that this committee review the application first, and they make a recommendation to the school board.
However, the school board is not legally bound by this recommendation. But typically, if the application meets all of the necessary criteria and the parents want the charter school to happen, it becomes hard for a school board, which is beholden to the community, to deny the charter. Dave's wife, Katie, eventually took up the offer and got involved in the committee.
So Katie gets on there and goes to the first meeting, and I think it's all remote at this time, right? And you got somebody who's there letting everybody know, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. This is what we're going to be looking at. This is the goal here. And there's one lady who, after being explained what's going on, raises her hand and says, well, can we just say no now? And they were like, no, we're going to have to, go through this.
Non-charter public school administrations are usually adversarial to charter schools. For every student a charter school siphons off, the school district receives less money from the government. From the outset, it appeared that some of the committee members shared this aversion to charter schools.
As Merit Academy's charter approval process progressed, a few other red flags began to surface.
Normally, charter applications will take maybe 3 to 4 months.
That's Cassie Kimbrell, a Woodland Park resident at the time.
This one took over 5 months, and they had over 20 just meetings, whether it was a public meeting, a town hall, a special board meeting.
It appeared that the committee had their thumb on the scale. Again, Dave Illingworth.
It became apparent to Katie in the whole process that, they were there to make it look okay. Like, yeah, we've checked the boxes, but the decision was already baked into the cake.
Eventually, the committee issued its recommendation.
The accountability committee says, don't charter them. They don't have buses. They don't have hot meals and everything. And the parents behind the charter application are like, what are you talking about? You can't penalize us for that. In Colorado law, you can't penalize a charter school because they don't have like a school busing system, or they don't have like a cafeteria system to provide meals to everybody, because the law understands a lot of them are startups. They don't come with infrastructure, right out of the gate. And so the next step is it goes to the school board, and the school board hires an independent expert to tell them whether or not this thing passes muster, right? The expert comes back and says, yeah, you should charter them. They're meeting all the factors under law for charter. And number one is public demand. And you've got families from your own community who are wanting to do this. And the plan they've got is pretty good. You guys should charter them. And in fact, if you don't charter them, they have the right to appeal to the state board. And from what we're seeing, if they were to do so, they're going to win the appeal. So you guys are going to spend money, you're going to spend time.
But the school board went against the independent expert anyway, and unanimously voted to deny Merit Academy's charter.
And, you take my wife's experience with the committee, and you're like, yeah, this was rigged. And that really became kind of a last straw for a lot of people.
Parents felt the school board were ignoring their concerns, and there were other signs that the school board was failing kids and parents.
Enrollment numbers have been on a more than 10-year slide. Back in the 2000s, they had like 3,000 kids enrolled here.
By the 2021-2022 school year, there were only around 1,800.
Every one of our school buildings was 50% empty. And when I got into it, I'm like, how much longer can we go on like this before we have basically a catastrophic decision to make? What do we have, another year or two where this continues this way, that we'd have to close a school, probably one of our elementary schools, and people are going to end up being laid off. And this school district is the biggest employer in Teller County.
Teller County is the county Woodland Park resides in. Again, Cassie Kimbrell.
And then around 2021, there was this newspaper article from the Colorado Sun.
The March 2021 article was written by a teacher from Teller County. She boasted about how she brought Black Lives Matter lessons into her kindergarten classroom and painted Teller County residents as Confederate flag-waving rednecks. The article angered many Woodland Park parents like Cassie.
It is 60% more Republican here. It's 60-30. So for Colorado, they're very proud. It's a mountainous town, and they're very proud to be red. So when you have teachers writing articles depicting that of, the parents that live here, and she's teaching kids, there's going to be some conflict.
The school board's charter school denial, the COVID policies that made masks mandatory on students, schools being shut down for just a few cases of COVID, and now this teacher bringing BLM lessons into a kindergarten class, Woodland Park residents felt like the school board was not representing them. parents had had enough. They decided to put a slate of candidates together to take over the Woodland Park School Board.
So that really started reaching out, getting a slate, advocating for that, seeing if we can get some people to come to the table and work together to try to see what we can do about fixing our schools.
And that's when they learned a closely held secret.
Woodland Park had not had an election of any kind for school board in more than 10 years.
What was happening was the teachers' unions and the school administration quietly took advantage of a loophole in the school board election process and used that loophole to install people that aligned with them rather than with the parents. Dave would eventually figure out the process for how most people were getting placed on the school board.
You'd have to get yourself on the ballot, but that takes 75 signatures. That's easy to do when you have somebody pass it around at the school, right? And then if nobody else filed to be on the ballot, it's canceled, right? And that's what had been happening. And so state law in Colorado is if you have a vacancy on the school board, the board has to appoint somebody within 60 days. And whoever they appoint, that's it. There's no subject to confirmation on that, right? And most of our school boards are 5 members.
Through this process, slowly over a decade plus, people who were aligned with the teachers and the school administration were appointed to the school board.
What had happened over the more than 10-year period was that the school board had become largely ceremonial and had become completely owned by the teachers and the administration. They did not see themselves at all, as representing parents. Not at all. They completely saw themselves as representatives of the school district itself, i.e. the administration and the teachers. They had delegated all responsibility and authority to the superintendent. And they basically would have a meeting maybe once a month that nobody went to. And they were largely there to take a report from the superintendent and rubber stamp whatever the superintendent recommended. I think they had a pretty good system worked out between the administration and the teachers union to kind of keep it all quiet, keep it under the table, have nobody really realize what was happening, and basically make sure that everybody lost interest in the school board. And that's not unique to the Woodland Park School District. That happens in governments all across the country.
So Dave Illingworth, Cassie Kimbrell, and others decided they were going to do something about it. And when they did, they inadvertently ignited a firestorm in Woodland Park.
There's nothing that makes me happier than putting on a fire, propping up my feet, popping on a movie, and curling up next to the love of my life. That being licorice from the Licorice Guy. If you've been listening to RPA for some time, then you know that licorice is my jam, and that it does not get any better than the gourmet licorice made by the Licorice Guy. They have a great selection of flavors to choose from, like red, blue raspberry, black, and green apple, just to name a few. The freshness of the licorice will blow your mind. Seriously, if you haven't tried licorice from the Licorice Guy, then do yourself a favor and give it a try. Trust me, you will not regret it. And if you're looking for new ways to expand your horizons in 2023, then consider joining the Licorice Guy's team by signing up for their resellers program. They'll train you and provide you with all the tools you need to succeed. It's a great opportunity for anyone looking to start a new business or make some extra cash. Visit licoriceguy.com to get more information on how you can become a Licorice Guy or to shop their delicious array of licorice. And don't forget to enter RPA15 at checkout for a discount. That's licoriceguy.com and enter RPA15 at checkout for a discount.
Welcome back to Red Pilled America. So Dave Illingworth, Cassie Kimbrell, and others learned that the Woodland Park School Board had become a puppet of the teachers' union and school administration. For over 10 years, they'd quietly taken control of the school board through a bit of a loophole in the election process that allowed them to appoint whomever they wanted. And once they got control of the school board, they ignored the wants and needs of the parents. So, in 2021, Dave Illingworth, Cassie Kimbrell, and others decided they were going to do something about it. Again, Dave Illingworth.
So I ran to change that. And I ran on growing the district. I ran on getting rid of masking and lockdowns because at that time the schools were still doing that.
Cassie Kimbrell.
I helped campaign and did a lot of the stuff behind the scenes. I helped them with anything they need, graphics or just a lot of like round table discussions, signature collecting when they had to get on the ballot.
And so it turns out, Patrick, that when one side is saying, vote for us because we'd like to represent you and we'd like to do what you want done, and the other side is saying, vote for me because I will not represent you and I have no power to do anything you'd want me to do anyway. Well, it turns out that actually trying to represent somebody is the more popular political position.
Dave and his like-minded colleagues challenged all 4 of the school board seats that were on the 2021 ballot. And the results?
We all won in a landslide.
Cassie Kimbrell would later be appointed to an open seat on the school board as well. And just like that, a few people in the small town of Woodland Park decided to do something, and they successfully took back their schools. And Woodland Park wasn't alone. A small group of people in a deep red county in Wisconsin decided to do the same thing on an even larger scale.
In 2019, Terry Dietrich took the reins of the Republican Party of Waukesha County, Wisconsin. In the early days of his chairmanship, he began studying the issues in his county.
We had worked really hard in 2019 and 20, knocking on over 175,000 doors in our county and interviewing what we would have considered to be swing voters or middle-of-the-road voters, kind of former Union Democrat-type voters that we had very clearly discovered that they were very much oriented towards Trump and a more conservative line versus the typical Republican line.
The voters in the area expressed frustrations with the Republican Party with their failures in statewide elections. If the state and national GOP party didn't make some changes, they'd either sit out the elections or start looking for other political options. Terry and his colleagues figured that they had to come up with something to keep these people engaged in the political process.
And my idea, along with one of my other colleagues, was local elections. And so we said, everybody cares about local elections. Everybody cares about what's going on in their local school boards and their local budgets and their local taxes. We need to focus on this. So then you had COVID that came along, and I'm not going to go into it a lot because you've heard this 1,000 times, I'm sure, across the country. The moms got mad. The people started paying attention, especially the school boards.
So Terry and his colleagues came up with a plan.
Just following the 2020 election, actually in November, we started a local county initiative underneath the umbrella of the Republican Party of Waukesha County.
They called it WisRed, short for Wisconsin Red.
We believed a trickle-up theory, meaning winning at the local level will ultimately build the bench and allow us to win up ticket. So WisRed initiative was set up specifically at the local level to win municipal, school boards, and in some cases judicial races at the local level here in Waukesha County. We got to work, scoured the county, analyzed all of the different races, what was in the majority, what was in the minority, what seats were open, what Democrats or liberals were in, what opportunities we might have. We found that our county effectively was about 40% at the municipal and local level in the hands of liberals. Probably nearly half of the school boards and municipal boards were majority controlled by liberals in the biggest red county in the state. And that was effectively because we, as a county party, were following the longtime mantra of the state party and the RNC saying that we don't participate in nonpartisan elections. So we decided we're a new sheriff in town. We're going to participate in these. We went after it, and we recruited effectively 110 candidates, ran in the spring with those candidates, recruited them, vetted them, supported them, ran those candidates, and then ended up winning 100 out of 110 races. And for the last 2 years have followed on with that same pattern and winning a total of 386 out of 420 races in this county and have taken effectively all of the majorities back in the municipal and school boards.
And one of the primary things that helped in their effort was something rather simple.
One of the greatest things that we did is we put a voter guide together, starting in 2021.
That's Kathy Pape, the executive director of the Republican Party of Waukesha County.
We sent it out by email and it went viral. And everybody said to us continually that they don't pay attention if you don't have kids in school to school boards and other things, but they would absolutely go out and vote if they know who to vote for. So this voter guide gave them that opportunity.
Kathy explained that the approach that they were taking was best described by author Matthew Truella, who's been pitching an idea to any Republicans who will listen. And that idea is county before country.
And he helps people see your power is in your county government. And he used illustrations during COVID. There was a county outside of St. Louis on the Illinois side. And when Governor Pritzker shut down the state during COVID, the county came back and said, no, we're not shutting down. And he came back and he said, well, then you're not going to get your money. And they came back and said, we don't care. We're not shutting it down. And then other counties saw what they were doing. They chimed in, did the same thing. And Pritzker was basically going, uncle, 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 uncle. We're trying to help everyone in this county see that WIS Red is so important because this is where our power is in the county system.
Again, Terry Dietrich.
Interestingly enough, in the last year or so, the state party started talking local elections where they never had for 20 years previous. So I think this trend will continue. You saw what happened in Virginia, and Governor DeSantis was talking about winning 2 or 3 big school board elections down in Florida. I had to laugh because we've won 382 out of 420. So we'd like to take this not only statewide, but nationally, because we think we have a formula that can definitely win.
Parents are beginning to see that the best way for them to make an impact is to think local, focus on their immediate environment. They see that they can retake the K-12 schools through the school boards. But it's not just parents that are taking action. Young adults are finding new ways to impact the American institution of education as well, including a young college student that has been so successful that even the legacy media has set their sights on him. For 250 years, America has been a bastion of freedom, and as we look ahead to the next 250, we're reminded that freedom is ours to defend. Today, Alliance Defending Freedom stands in courtrooms across the country to protect those freedoms we cherish. Life, free speech, religious freedom, parental rights. These freedoms are at the core of who we are as a nation, and they must be preserved. ADF is approaching a critical fiscal year-end fundraising deadline. Your support today helps ADF defend these freedoms so they may endure for many years to come. Every dollar you give will be doubled thanks to a special matching grant while funds last. Visit joinadf.com/RPA or text RPA to 83848 to give today. Sponsored by Alliance Defending Freedom.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month, even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending. Zero tears.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
People at work supported me while I was going through treatment by not treating me like somebody who was going through treatment. Treatment sucks. Cancer sucks. Being engaged with work really helped to, I just knew I was going to beat this thing.
Research shows there is a significant connection between the ability to continue to work and cancer recovery. We can make work a better place for healing.
Learn more and sign the pledge at workingwithcancerpledge.com.
The Joel Osteen Daily Podcast.
God's plans for you are for good.
Be inspired.
Get ready. God is about to exceed your expectations.
Joel Osteen Daily Podcast.
You are coming out of that dry place into more than enough.
Daily encouragement right when you need it.
There are opportunities in your future bigger than you can imagine.
Listen to the Joel Osteen Daily Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Do you want to hear Red Pilled America stories ad-free? Then become a Backstage subscriber. Just log on to redpilledamerica.com and click Join in the top menu. Join today and help us save America one story at a time. Welcome back to Red Pilled America. Daniel Schmidt does not look like the threatening type. He's a brown-haired, fair-skinned young man whose default face practically smiles. He gives off a buttoned-up, straight-A student vibe that wouldn't or couldn't ruffle anyone's feathers. But as the saying goes, don't judge a book by its cover, because this young man has done more to impact the institution of education than most adults 3 times his age.
I almost have like an obligation to speak up.
That's Daniel.
Because if I don't, these coastal elite people are just going to keep running the show.
Daniel was born in Los Angeles, California, but moved to a small town in the middle of Tennessee when he was around 8 years old.
And I want to say that was sort of my transformative experience. I saw how normal middle Americans live. I saw how they thought. I saw, they went to church every Sunday. They cared about family and tradition and the nation. And that was sort of what led me to just see how normal Americans live.
Daniel grew up in a single-parent home with his mother. He attended a run-of-the-mill high school, nothing fancy, but he put his nose down and got the kind of grades and had the type of family income that earned him a full-ride scholarship.
I applied to 20 schools. I got into quite a few, but I ended up picking UChicago primarily because the school is known for its protection of free speech. It's known as sort of the free speech school.
He chose economics as his course of study, and even before he entered the University of Chicago in the 2021-2022 school year, he began pushing the boundaries. As a Christian, Daniel got a religious exemption from the campus vaccine mandate. It was something few students were doing at the time. Then, in his first month on campus, he took a stand on an issue that most white guys try to avoid.
My first month in college, I couldn't participate in a debate tournament because I was white. They straight up told me to my face, this tournament's only open to non-white people. And I legitimately couldn't believe it. I thought at first it was like a prank, but then I looked around the room and everyone was nodding, everyone was agreeing with it, and I was the only one who seemed to even have a problem with it. It was unreal, and the funniest part about it was I come from a single mother household, went to a pretty, average public high school, and then I get to this school and these kids who went to super top boarding schools are really rich. They're telling me I'm privileged because I'm white. They're telling me I can't do a debate tournament because I'm white. I can't believe it. I'm on a full-ride scholarship because I'm low income.
So he decided to expose the racist debate tournament.
And then the next year, the tournament didn't happen. I don't know if it was completely because of me, but I have to imagine there was some scrutiny and that maybe the students were a little scared.
It was only his first month of college, and Daniel was just getting started.
I'm unvaccinated. I'm probably one of the only students at my college who's unvaccinated.
And when Daniel entered UChicago in 2021, the COVID protocols of mass testing and social distancing were still in full swing.
The school was constantly sending me emails. They were making me test every week. It was just a total mess. And then I get this email one day saying, we have this new policy, unvaccinated students can't go to dining halls. They're basically saying you have to eat in your room, you can't eat with anybody else, just total persecution. And I looked into it, I found out that the policy isn't even legal. In the city of Chicago, if you have an exemption, which I did, I had a religious exemption, you're allowed to eat in places even if you're not vaccinated. So my college was completely breaking the law, and I was like, okay, this is insane. So I pressed my administration. I sent 20 emails to all the various administrators. I wrote an article for the newspaper I was writing for at the time. And a few days later, the policy was reversed quietly. They sent me an email and they said, yeah, the policy doesn't exist anymore.
Just by being a squeaky wheel, he got the policy thrown out. It was around this time that Daniel's questioning the system landed him on the national news. Prestigious universities like UChicago often invite high-profile people to speak on campus. April 2022 was one of those times. Elite left-wing media outfit The Atlantic hosted a conference on the campus entitled Disinformation and the Erosion of Democracy.
The sort of mainstream media has this big battle against disinformation. They're calling anything they don't like disinformation. So my school invited Barack Obama, they invited Brian Stelter from CNN, and they invited this one woman called Ann Applebaum, who's this Atlantic journalist, super uptight, super, just total liberal, basically. And she was speaking about, we need to fight disinformation. The conservatives are spreading all this stuff. And I was in the audience, and I didn't know I was going to ask her a question. It was kind of just impromptu. At the end, they said, hey, does anyone want to ask a question? I rose my hand. I got the mic. I was like, okay.
Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. I'm Daniel Schmidt. I'm a freshman at the University of Chicago. My question is for Miss Applebaum.
And I quickly looked into her, and I saw she was totally going after conservatives for talking about the Hunter Biden laptop story. She was like, oh, this is Russian disinformation. If you believe in this, you're a conspiracy theorist. And this was still when people were unsure if it was real or not. Now it's confirmed. And so I asked her.
So in 2020, you wrote, those who live outside the Fox News bubble do not, of course, need to learn any of the stuff about Hunter Biden, referring to his laptop, of course. A poll later after that found that if voters knew about the content of the laptop, 16% of Joe Biden voters would have acted differently. Now, of course, we know a few weeks ago, the New York Times confirmed that the content is real. Do you think the media acted inappropriately when they instantly dismissed Hunter Biden's laptop as Russian disinformation? And what can we learn from that in ensuring that what we label as disinformation is truly disinformation and not reality?
Ann Applebaum responded.
My problem with Hunter Biden's laptop is I think it's totally irrelevant. I mean, it's not whether it's disinformation or, I don't think the Hunter Biden's business relationships have anything to do with who should be president of the United States. So I don't find it to be interesting. I mean, that would be my problem with that as a major news story.
The hypocrisy was jarring. Here was a woman whose newspaper was hosting a conference on disinformation. She was caught in a profound moment of disinformation about the Hunter Biden laptop story right before an election, and she basically stated that Hunter Biden's laptop was unimportant.
So I asked her that question, and then I posted it to my Twitter, and literally overnight it blew up. I think got 1 million views. It was a big deal. That was my sort of big viral moment. And again, at that moment, I realized, listen, I'm just a single college kid. But if I can ask these powerful liberal elites these questions, then I'm going to do it.
And he did. Later in 2022, Daniel got another opportunity when lame duck Congresswoman Liz Cheney came to the University of Chicago. Ms. Cheney was the vice chair of the House January 6th committee that looked to brand former President Trump as an insurrectionist and forced the prosecution of those involved in the January 6th events.
When I found out she was coming, I kind of knew right away I have to ask her about Ray Epps.
Ray Epps, of course, was famously caught on camera encouraging people to enter the Capitol in Washington, D.C. around January 6, 2021, yet was never prosecuted like so many others for inciting a so-called insurrection. Some suggested Ray Epps was working with the FBI. Liz Cheney had long been calling the entire Ray Epps issue a conspiracy theory. So, Daniel thought he'd question her on the subject.
Thank you so much. My name is Daniel Schmidt. So I've been following this January 6th committee really closely, and I just wanted to ask you about some of the facts here. So on June 9th, you cited the Department of Justice and their prosecution of the Proud Boys, some of the members, and the Department of Justice said these members directed, mobilized, and led members of the crowd onto the Capitol grounds and into the Capitol. So obviously that's a crime, that's insurrection, and, I guess you made the right call there. The fact of the matter is we have another person on camera doing exactly that. His name is Ray Epps, and it's not a conspiracy theory. The New York Times shows him saying, quote, we need to go into the Capitol. I'm going to pick it out there. I'm going to put it out there. I'm probably going to go to jail. Tomorrow we need to go into the Capitol. That's not a conspiracy theorist. We have an actual insurrectionist on tape, and yet he's escaped prosecution. So let me just ask you right here, do you demand the prosecution of Ray Epps? He's an actual insurrectionist on tape.
Let me answer the question, because I think there's some confusion about the role of Congress.
And her answer was basically, oh, no, that's a conspiracy theory.
I think we all ought to be able to agree on those basic things as Americans and set aside conspiracy theories.
And she literally was like condescending me. She was like, you know nothing about government, kid, sit down. And at the very end, after I asked this question, another student who was next up in line, he apologized to her for my, quote, behavior.
Hi, Liz. I appreciate your... I appreciate your handling of and apologize for Daniel Schmidt's behavior. He's the worst our campus has to offer.
And it's the most insane thing ever because, Liz Cheney is like the epitome of an establishment politician. She's total neocon, dad is Dick Cheney. And this student is like apologizing to her and everyone's booing at me. I mean, and, the question is like, what happened to kids being rebellious? What happened to kids protesting on college campuses? You would think people like Liz Cheney would be booed out of existence. And now the kids are bowing down. I mean, it's the most insane dynamic ever. I couldn't believe my eyes.
But it was in late 2022 when he took a stand against an upcoming U Chicago class that put him in the crosshairs of the legacy media.
It all started when I was looking for classes to register, and I found this one class, and it was called The Problem of Whiteness. And I mean, it just instantly stood out to me. Like, what is this class saying? That there's a problem with whiteness, and whiteness is white people, and that therefore there's a solution. And then I went into the course description, and it's saying, like, whiteness is a world-making and raising problem. I mean, it was egregious. I don't know what other word to use, and I don't know how anyone could defend such a thing. So I saw this class, and I was like, listen, people need to know, like, this class is being taught at such an elite school. So I went on Twitter and I made a little bit of a thread. I posted the class title. I posted the course description. I posted a picture of the woman teaching the class because, I mean, people should know the face of this stuff.
The professor's name was Rebecca Journey.
And pretty quickly the thread blew up. I think it got over 1 million impressions. And that's when this professor went full speed against me. She was calling me a cyber terrorist. She's saying I'm going to encourage an armed school shooter. And then she filed 2 separate complaints to get me expelled. And I have to show appreciation to my school. My school denied both of those.
This all went down in November and December 2022. But then 7 months later, after the issue appeared to be forgotten, the legacy media set their sights on Daniel Schmidt.
And then out of nowhere, the New York Times dropped an article about me, basically attacking my school, saying they should have done more about it. They should have punished me. And then CNN drops an article calling me a bully, saying I bully people into silence.
And this is what happens when you're over the target, especially when a concerned citizen tries to break the monopoly the radical left has on education. Right after Dave Illingworth and his team took over the Woodland Park School Board, teachers and a few vocal liberal parents and activists began their attack on Dave and his colleagues. Again, Dave Illingworth.
Some of these people, Patrick, they called the Teller County clerk the day after the election and said, we would like the recall petitions. We're ready to start gathering signatures to recall these guys. And they were told, actually, the law says you have to wait 6 months. Can't start gathering signatures until they've been in office 6 months. Well, they waited until 6 months and they went back that day and got the recall petitions.
Recall efforts are underway in Woodland Park tonight after a petition was just filed against 2 school board members.
School Board Vice President David Illingworth and Board Director Suzanne Patterson will face a recall vote in November if there are enough valid signatures on both of those petitions.
Well, the forces behind it are fairly easy to identify.
That's Ken Witt, the school superintendent that was hired by Dave Illingworth and the rest of the Woodland Park School Board.
And for the most part, it's organized union resistance to change, a common theme. The recall failed.
Tonight, 2 Woodland Park School Board members are speaking out after months of efforts to remove them from office failed.
Election officials say petitioners came up short to trigger recall elections against Woodland Park School Board members David Illingworth and Suzanne Patterson.
Woodland Park School Board Vice President David Illingworth says he is pleased, calling the push to remove him a wasteful effort by a group committed to a radical agenda.
Not only did it fail, they didn't get enough signatures to get there by a long shot. So this board has twice won support from the community.
Ken Witt and the school board began making reforms immediately by bringing part of the school's curriculum back to America's first principles.
We adopted the American Birthright curriculum standard, quite honestly, within a few days of me joining the school district. So that certainly underscored the board's commitment to return focus to a quality academic focus and to lose some of the divisive politics and perspectives that are going on in public education. So that certainly met with some resistance.
And so the American birthright standards are about making sure that every kid is getting a curriculum that is always designed to give the full and complete history of this country, with an understanding that people who are learning history, our students, should be valuing the American system, that it's a good system in the end. It's not a perfect system, but it's probably the best that we've managed to come up with so far in human history.
Historically, the national media had largely ignored this small town. That is, until word spread that the new sheriff in town began to change the curriculum.
The district also became the first in the country to implement a social studies program called American Birthright, developed by conservative activists and rejected by educators around the country, including Colorado's State Board of Education. It emphasizes patriotism and discourages civic engagement.
It's terrifying.
When Sarah Lee, a Woodland Park teacher for almost 2 decades, learned what was inside the new program, she started to panic.
Anything that is not the way that the leader says it should be is wrong and evil and should be destroyed. And that's how I feel about that American Birthright curriculum.
This November, 3 seats on the school board are up for election. Parents like Matt Galowski worry about how much could change between now and then.
Wake up. Don't rest. Don't think that your district is safe. I never saw this coming.
They always seem to scream the loudest when you're over the target. Which leads us back to the question, what can the folks do to help save America? Well, one answer is, take back the schools. Our educational system is perhaps the most important cultural institution in America. Almost every child is legally required to run this gauntlet for at least 13 years, and the overwhelming majority do so through the public school system. This is something that the radical left understood going back to at least the 1960s.
We must educate our people. In order to educate our people, it means that we must take over the schools, nothing less. Take them over by any means necessary.
Education is what feeds our youth in their most formative and vulnerable years. So we must rid our system of the poisonous ideology that the radicals are pumping into our kids' bloodstream by taking over the schools. And as Woodland Park and Wiss Red has shown, it can be done.
Parents and teachers can take back their schools and make sure that their kids are getting the education they deserve. They don't have to be controlled and forced into the big darkness that's coming from the power centers in D.C. And the special interests with all their billions of dollars. So you can do it.
And it's not just the K-12 education system that needs to be taken back. We must not abandon higher education.
These elite schools are still the best gateway to power. You know, if we just abandon these institutions, the left's just going to dominate them, and that's just a way for us to lose even more power. So I just want to inspire other students to show, listen, I didn't come from any fancy backgrounds. I don't have any fancy connections. I just started calling out what I think is wrong, defending what I think is true. I want to show them, listen, you can do this too. Like, it's possible.
Red Pilled America is an iHeartRadio original podcast. It's owned and produced by Patrick Corelchi and me, Adriana Cortez of Informed Ventures. Now you can get ad-free access to our entire archive of episodes by becoming a Backstage subscriber. To subscribe, visit redpilledamerica.com and click Join in the top menu. Thanks for listening.
I think when you're diagnosed with cancer, you crave a semblance of normalcy and control, and so work allowed me to be me. So I think it's really important that companies stay flexible. Cancer and a diagnosis can be all-consuming, but it doesn't have to be.
Research shows there is a significant connection between the ability to continue to work and cancer recovery. We can make work a better place for healing.
Learn more and sign the pledge at workingwithcancerpledge.com.
The Joel Osteen Daily Podcast.
God's plans for you are for good.
Be inspired.
Get ready. God is about to exceed your expectations.
Joel Osteen Daily Podcast.
You are coming out of that dry place into more than enough.
Daily encouragement right when you need it.
There are opportunities in your future bigger than you can imagine.
Listen to the Joel Osteen Daily Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.